Well, with the arrival of hot summer weather, we decided to get out of town and head up to the Detroit area. Now, to some people, that means camping at places like Detroit Lake, with hundreds of other folks all crammed together in a human stew.
Yeah, campsite after campsite after campsite.
Some of these people also like to fish, and the state sees to it that by dumping hundreds of hatchery trout into the Santiam River, they can be yarded out by the campers. It's a simple process. Just fill up a net from the truck, hand it to the other guy, and he dumps them over the rail into the river. Piece of cake. There'll be some hot fishing in this hole real soon. Now, Darcy and I had other ideas about where to camp and headed up to a little campground on the other side of Detroit with less than 20 camping spaces.
It is so serene here during the week. I love it. And we had the campground to ourselves pretty much. Had our pick of places to plunk.
After arriving and getting camp set up, which took about 10 minutes, we headed down to the river to see if we could come up with a trout. Now, I'd watched Steve Rhinella, the meat eater, on TV cook up a fish dish called Trout au bleu, French, and wanted to give it a try. But first we had to catch a trout.
And I was excited by the river being right there. Love that sound.
The pool near camp looked beautiful, and we had it all to ourselves. All I wanted was a single pan-sized trout. Was that asking too much? I've fished this part of the river for over 60 years, and I got a pretty good idea about fishing in these parts. Most trout are rainbows between 10 and 15 inches, and it's rare to find one bigger. I rigged up with a size 8 hook and loaded it up with some night crawler, which I then tossed out into the current. Nothing happened on the first cast, so I flipped the crawler back out again. Bingo! Fish on!
I was busy admiring all kinds of views when Chris hooked this guy. Dang, I thought I'd have more time to goof around. Work, work, work.
This was exactly the fish we wanted for our French hors d'oeuvres. So I gently dragged it into the shallows, grabbed it, and pulled the hook out. We had our appetizer for the evening. Great. Good start for our trip. Good sign. Now all we had to do was cook it.
Chris is quite the chef, and we don't ever go hungry on these trips, that's for sure.
Okay. Never done this before.
New thing.
Trout au bleu.
Bleu. Very good.
Bleu. That's blue in French.
French, yeah.
The trout is supposed to come out blue. You put in, a cup of vinegar.
A cup of water? Or was that a cup of...
And a cup of water. And you don't touch the trout.
Okay.
Look at it from here. There you can, and from that angle, you can see that it's turning the trout blue.
Bleu.
Bleu.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we'll make I'll have to look up the French word for it. Water, carrots, celery, onion, and...
Sounds like a roux, or is that...
It's some kind of French word. I'll look it up and throw it in. I'll say it's a court bouillon, that is. Okay, he's turning blue.
Mm-hmm.
More cloudy than blue, but he's changed color, and that's what they're supposed to do. So now I'll get him cleaned. The trout au bleu goes in his bath.
And you got carrots and
that's the French.
whatever it is, roux, we think.
Okay.
Carrots, celery.
Put the lid back on it. Simmering for 10 minutes total, about 9 minutes. And I think it's pretty well done. Okay. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Well, after simmering for 10 minutes, it looks to be fairly done.
Okay.
So, there it is. And now all you have to do, oh, look at that. Just peel the skin back, and that trout is done perfectly. And
Just grab a piece.
these back pieces will be.
It's got a
It's got a mild flavor. That's pretty good.
it's like it takes the fishiness out of it or something.
Yeah, it just gives it a different, milder, smoother flavor. That's pretty good.
It is.
Kind of a little bit more work than what we normally do, just baking it up in tin foil. And I've done that. I can remember the days of walking down into the canyon and cooking one up at the side of the stream. Pretty good memories. Boy, this baby is a bit larger than I planned on. That's okay. I got to take off a head and a tail so that this critter will fit on the aluminum foil. That's not a bad thing. Beautiful spot here. You'd pay for a view like this in a restaurant. Pretty simple, actually. The foil has butter and seasoning already on it, and I just got to stick some of the good stuff into the fish's cavity and wrap him up tight. There, ready for the fire. Then you pull him off and unwrap him. Peel the skin back from that wonderful pink fillet. And no fork needed, just fingers and a mouth, and I got that much. The fish is delicious, and the view, just look at it, is first class. This is living. If I could only just fly back to the truck. But no, I gotta hump it out of here, and that really isn't going to be easy.
It's
Might do it again.
A surprising flavor.
Yeah, Lori, one of my Arizona sisters, had given us a collection of old westerns on DVDs. So tonight was dinner and a movie for Darcy and me. Yes, sir, the end of a hard day.
Yeah. You know, I guess I burn some calories doing the dishes, but we do always manage to pack it on.
Today, we're gonna fish down in the hole. It's a rough stretch of Santiam River that is ridiculously hard to get down into. This year, it'd be worse. All of the roads I'd used before to get in the canyon were off limits to the public due to closure because of recent fires. Well, as I said, I've fished this stretch of river for a long time, and nearly every year I find a way to walk down into the canyon. Well, walk is not, scramble is a better word. I knew of only one place where we might be able to scramble down into the brush-choked bowels of the canyon, so I convinced Darcy to join me on what I said was a little hike. I'll never be able to do that again. We made it into the parking spot and got our gear out of the truck. It'll be a good little hike, I told Darcy. It'll be fun. Okay, tally ho.
Here we go.
Don't slip off the trail, I kidded her. For the first couple of 100 feet, it was fairly easy, just a walk in the woods. Then things took a turn for the worse. I think this is the go-down trail I was looking for. You can see down there it's not real bad, not like it is up here.
Chris's dad calls Chris a billy goat in the woods, and that's pretty accurate. And I'm the opposite. Where, oh, where is the trail?
There was a little brush and debris to get around, and it was a little steep, I suppose, here and there. Just take your time, watch your feet, I said. We finally made our way down unscathed, mostly to the bottom of the canyon.
Okay, this is how Darcy made it down that hill. My hands sliding down. I even ruined the camera, we think, because it got so dirty we couldn't even close this lens cover. It's dirty. And my backside, I came down on my... And you're spared the view of my black butt here. That's how I made it around this hole. Straight up,
But
straight down.
the important thing is we did make it to the river. Might try fishing that spot there. Ah, time to fish. Now all we need is 2 for dinner, I told Darcy. Darcy looked at me with a look that said, first we got to get out of here before we can eat supper. She was not real happy. Watch this, I said, casting out. This is how you get your supper from Mother Nature. Piece of cake. And it was. I hooked a fish.
Man, just like that.
Could be a big one.
Okay. I have to admit that once I'm at the river, I love the views, love the sounds, and find some peace for sure. I've always loved the water, and the Santiam is one of the prettiest rivers around.
Ah, 11 inches of native rainbow trout. Your turn, Darcy.
Very nice. Yeah.
See that?
Yeah.
Well, she's pretty game, although still a bit upset about the hike getting here. I never knew she could hold a grudge for so long. But Darcy geared up with a little silver spoon my dad had given me and flipped it out into the current. She didn't pull it 10 feet before, wham, a trout hit. The battle was on. Darcy brought it to shore. And slid it up on the rocks. Good job, good job. Then she unhooked the fish and the two said goodbye.
I was particularly proud of the fact that I did not lose any tackle this day. This is not exactly my wheelhouse, but I'm always trying to let the fish go in as easy a way as possible. Then Chris gets at it and shows me how it's all done.
I tossed back out and was into a trout immediately.
Fish on.
Another big one.
Man. Awesome.
The fishing in this canyon is always great because no one else ever fishes it. Most people just think, I'm not going into that hideous place for a couple of trout. So I've never run into anyone there since my first trip so many, many years ago. And that's a true story.
And the other true story that Chris is leaving out here is that out of the dozen or so people he has led down to fish at the bottom of the canyon, only one may have returned. It takes a rare breed to want to suffer through that haul to catch fish, and I married that rare breed, Mr. Pruitt. I actually had a lot of fun fishing there, but as you can see, my releasing technique still leaves a lot to be desired. Poor fish. I'm happy to report that the ones I meant to release did all get away okay.
Well, we kept our 2 trout, packed up our gear, and rated ourselves for the trip out. It would be quite a climb.
Trail, chomp, crunch, crunch, crunch. Crunch, crunch, crunch. But it's not bad. I mean, we've been through worse. But there's a lot of this kind of stuff all around. Kind of makes for an interesting hike. Follow me, he said. This is the path. There's no clear path on this path, but we're gone. All right, Mr. Pruitt. Should I start walking?
We were tired and hungry. We decided tonight would be a spaghetti feed. Anyone out there like pasta? Okay, after a hard day's fishing and tromping through the brush, it's all part of our job. We got to do it, and we're not complaining, but you got to refuel, and that means a big supper. So it's getting kind of dark out now. It was a real buster today, so we're going to have a big meal. First of all, we're going to start out with a shallot. We just want to cut this baby up into a few small pieces. And we're going to just fry this up like a little bit like you would an onion. Only shallots taste just a little bit stronger. And therefore, just what we need in this meal. Plus, got a couple of garlic cloves here. These are all peeled, and they're going to go in this. But first, we'll get the shallots on. Okay, into the pan they go. Then the marvelous invention, a garlic press. Everybody should have a garlic press. We're going to get us out some Italian sausage, which is about the best thing you can get for pasta. That kind of makes sense. And it'll make nice chunks when it fries up. So don't bother peeling it, just right into the pan the way it came from the meat man. Shallots and onions are frying up. Into the pan we go. And we'll put a lid on there. Come back to that in 4 or 5 minutes when everything's cooking good. Give it a big stir, keep it browning nicely. And then we'll go on with step 2 and our pasta here. That's funny, on cooking shows when they show somebody cooking up something, they always go, oh, that smells magnificent. Like you don't know it. But you know what? With all the garlic and shallots, that really smells good. It kind of reminds, you see, people, the first time they see a moose out in the wild, up close, they say, wow, they sure are big. And you know what we said the first time we saw a moose up in the outdoors, knowing everybody says that? There's a lot of alder and willow and brushy clearing, so it wasn't surprising to run into a cow moose and her calf. If we saw nothing else, the hike was a success. Then we saw a bull moose. They sure are big. Wow, they sure are big. Anyway, that does smell good, and now that's what you like to smell after a hard, rough day out in the Tuliwas fishing for trout. It's a hard job, but as they always say, somebody's got to do it, and right now, it's me and Darcy that are doing it. But we can live with that.
Yeah.
We've done it before, and
sure enough.
Whatever it takes, we'll hang in there. Okay, I'm going to let that simmer just briefly. So I think we got some fancy new, I believe this came from Safeway. And this is a high dollar, fancy tomato and basil pasta sauce. And we're going to top that right in here. Okay, we got the sauce ready. Now, got 2 ears of corn, both ends cut off. They go in the microwave. This is good. Turn it on 6 and let it go. That starts the generator up when you do that. Doesn't like that microwave much. Okay.
Just poop it out after you microwave it with the tops cut off like that.
Comes out perfect.
Get rid of most of the silk. It's like easy peasy, low maintenance, corn on the cob.
Yeah.
Oh, we suffer so out here.
Yep. Take my hat off. Pardon the hat hair. Been wearing a hat all day. Probably looks kind of funny, but suck it up. That's all right. And with that,
we have the pasta.
Yes, sirree. Another hard day. We caught fish again today. Yep. Nice size one.
And I didn't lose any tackle. I was really proud of that.
Today was a better day for you.
I was really proud of that.
So that's it. Another day in the bank. Another hard day work. We're going to put in more than 40 hours this week, and people complain about how long they work. We probably worked 55 hours this week. Don't get paid overtime.
Make me choke.
But we'll tough it out.
Life is rough.
Yep. See you tomorrow. Or the next day. And so what's tonight's movie presentation?